All right, so we have a video here about how I don't pay my bills. This is going to be a good one. Let's go ahead and
I
watch.
posted a video about fighting an old credit card debt because they're trying to sue me and garnish my wages, and I have a lot of people in my comments telling me I should pay my bills. No. Unless it's an immediate monthly bill that could get something cut off in my house, it is not considered a necessity to me. I don't care if I rack up the debt myself. If I can't pay it and I don't pay it, you gotta fight me for it. There is no moral compass when it comes to these companies for me. I don't give a fuck. Even medical debt. If I go to the emergency room and I get 5 bills from 5 different departments, none of them are getting paid. There was also a lot of people very concerned about my credit score. You guys are more concerned about it than me. I don't care about my credit score. A lot of people move through life without actually ever using their credit score. I'm one of those people. I don't let their scare tactics scare me. The debts get passed from company to company to company to company, and by the time it gets to company number 5, they paid like $2 for my $900 debt. They're not getting that money. End of story. I posted a video about fighting.
You know what's crazy? It's like when we talk about paying off debt, we also talk about like you pay your credit card so you can reuse your credit card again. And it seems like she's not doing that. So it's very interesting. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get started and pay off our debts. We can pay our bills, or at least in this imaginary scenario, we can pay our bills. And we're going to use it something that we used to call, formerly known as velocity banking. Can't use that term anymore. We just call it the velocity method now. And basically, what is it's just a debt payoff strategy where you throw all your money into debt using something called, with the help of something called a line of credit. And so the first step to this is creating a budget. And you list your income, expenses, leftover checking, savings, and then you create an expense breakdown. You list every single debt that you have, right? So these are 4 credit cards, an auto loan, a student loan, and a mortgage. And every single debt you have to put in its own line item. And then things that are not tied to that, you just put the average that you think you're going to pay per month, food, gas, insurance, and you combine them. We have to separate debt versus non-debt. Okay. And also, what we're going to do is we're going to rank these debts using something called the cash flow index, right? So, the cash flow index. So, basically, it's the debt amount divided by the monthly payment. Okay, debt amount divided by the monthly payment, right? So 28, 30, 30, 71. So what does this mean? Basically, think of it as a ranking or sorting system, and the lower the number, that's the one you want to pay off first. And you know what's funny? I was actually looking up the old reference material that from, I think it was the creator of the cash flow index, Garrett Gunderson's website, or Garrett Gunderson, and I looked at his website. I don't see the same articles anymore. I think we revamped it or something. But anyways, all right. So basically, if we pay off this one first, we have to pay $210,000 for a little itty bitty amount of cash flow. Whereas we can pay, let's say, these 2 credit card payments, and we'll get more cash flow for these small credit, these balances, relatively small balances compared to the mortgage, right? So that's why we pay off the low cash flow index first, okay? And so what we're going to do here is we're going to assume we have something called a line of credit. So it's a line of credit. It's basically a financial tool where you can borrow money, pay it back, and then use it over and over again. We don't need, you know, a huge line of credit necessarily, but the bigger the better, right? Because it gives you more wiggle room. And in this example, we're going to assume we have $60,000. And if you want to get, let's say, more than $15,000 in a line of credit, you probably need to get a home equity line of credit. So probably need to be a homeowner. If not that, you can use a personal line of credit, or if you're doing this in the context of a business line of credit, which would be in the name of your business. And I'm not an accountant, but this is what an accountant told me. If you're a single member LLC and you make purchases with your personal credit card because the single member LLC is disregarded, they're one and the same as a personal, so you could probably still make purchases with your personal credit card for business purchases. But don't listen to me. I'm not an accountant, right? That's what my accountant told me. All right, so now let's go ahead. So we have a $60,000 credit limit, okay? And then here we have the balance, and we're going to assume we have a free and clear line of credit. Now, pop question or pop quiz: does does the bank give you a free and clear line of credit when you only have $76 left over and you have a bunch of debt? The answer to that is no, because hopefully I brainwashed my audience, and according to YouTube analytics, we have 9% new viewers in the last 28 days. Banks don't lend money to people who need it, right? Banks don't lend money to people who need it because here's what the bank is. If you're going to be a giant leech or a giant vampire, you need people with lots of blood, aka lots of money. And you can't suck another person's blood if they don't have any blood, aka money, right? Plus, they know from experience that if they lend you money, you need it, they won't pay you back, or you won't pay them back, right? You won't pay them back. just like uh just like that lady in the TikTok video where she's like, if I need the money for other things, and it's not going to debt, and the credit card companies, the banks, they all know this. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is move some debt into the line of credit. Now you might be asking, well, why do we demonstrate this with the free and clear line of credit if we can't get one? The answer to that is because I'm lazy, and it's much easier to demonstrate this. And if you want to see a realistic scenario where it took maybe like an hour to go over someone who had a maxed out line of credit and 22 debts and $4 left over, join the YouTube channel membership, 99 cents, right? It's only for YouTube channel members. Okay, put it behind a paywall. That's why. But you can still see the benefits of this strategy, especially if you had a free and clear line of credit. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the velocity method side. So same income, same expenses, and that's kind of how we the or that's kind of the assumptions that we make, is that we have the same income, same expenses, and then we're not gonna save any money, and then we're going to increase our cash flow as much as possible, right? So we have one, two, three, four credit cards. Okay, four credit cards. So how much is that? 5, 8, 15, 27. I'm going to go ahead and sum this up, and that's going to be 55,000. So let's move that $55,000 of credit card debt into the line of credit. And before we actually do the final part of the strategy, guess what happens here? Oh my goodness, these credit cards, oopsie, four credit cards go to zero, and then the $76 magically, let me zoom up here, turns into 1853.79. Yeah. Did you see that? Like I'm zooming it so you can just see for yourself that, hey, I did not make more money. 5,500, same income. We just shifted some expenses, even though we still owe the debt, and then the $76 turns into 1853.79. 1853.79, right? And then the final step is we put the entire paycheck into the line of credit, take our expenses out, and then rinse and repeat over and over again. Right, rinse and repeat over and over again. So, yeah. So what is this method? It's basically saving money or not saving money rebranded with the help of a line of credit. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and do this. Calculate the next month's balance, next month's interest, minus the cash flow, 1853.79. And then we take the average daily balance. So you want to know how to calculate this? You take the average daily balance, multiply it by that interest rate, and divide by 12. That's how you calculate the interest, okay? So let me go ahead and copy and paste this and see how long it takes to pay off that credit card debt. And look at that, it's going down, 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 down. So in about 34 months, right? 34 months, it gets paid off. And then we just make a note of that. So less than 3 years, we fully paid off the credit card debt. So 34 months and 55K. Copy, paste. And then we have three more. So we have the auto loan, the student loan, and the mortgage. Okay, so 34 months. So how do we know what the current balances of these are, right? Well, luckily we got this loan amortization calculator. Well, it's not kind of, all right. So it's pretty cool. I learned this from an 8-hour class about seller finance notes about how to do all this, and then I decided to create my own. And then you see these are current balances after 34 months, right? And then this is the current cash flow index. Just take the lowest one. So why do we, even though this is 3%, technically the lowest interest rate, Why are we focused on paying this off first? Because holistically, if we pay this 9 grand off first, we're going to get more cash flow than this 23 grand. Pay the 9 grand off, get 400, get the 23 grand, we get less cash flow than the 9 grand, right? And so let's go ahead and move this into the line of credit. All right, now this is going to be plus 9939.15. All right, and then we got to increase the cash flow. So this is going to be zero, an extra $395, and then now it's 2,249 and 10 cents. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, so now it's going to be minus 2249.1, and then I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste, and then we see that in 38 months, right? 38 months this is paid off. So let's go ahead and mark this as 77K paid off. And then we have two more, the student loan and the mortgage. And so now we just do zero, and then it's 38, 38, right? And then we have two more loans, which is the student loan and the mortgage. Now, I'm going to tell you something. This is nuanced behavior or little nuances about moving loans into line of credit. If you have a huge interest rate difference, so let's say 4%, you move it to an 8% line of credit, and this cash flow index number is relatively high, it means that you're not going to get a lot of cash flow for moving that loan into the line of credit. And what happens, and this is where people screw up, is that you're going to end up paying a lot more interest than you have to because you get itty bitty cash flow and you move the entire balance of that loan into a big line of credit, right? So we got to be a little bit careful about that. Okay, we got to be real careful. Um, Whereas this one with the 7%, yeah, 7 and 8, I guess, 1 point does kind of make a difference, but let me just be a little bit lazy today because I don't want to, I'll show the chunking method that we use to pay off these amortized loans, even with the interest rate difference. But here, I'm just going to move this one into a line of credit, right? And we'll probably pay a little bit more interest than we should be, but let's just do this anyways. So the student loan is now going to be zero, right? And then our cash flow is 2597.43. So get this one, and let's go ahead and update the cash flow. So these two numbers right here, I'm going to do this, and then this is going to be plus 22650.46, and then this is going to be 2597.43. Okay, and then now how long does it take to pay off the auto loan? It's going to, or not the auto loan, the student loan, it's going to take 47 months. Okay, so I mean the interest that we paid on that student loan isn't that bad, right? It's only this 20, $30, $54, right? So this is 47 months. All right, so now this is going to be 77 plus 30, and then it's going to be 107K. And then now the 30-year mortgage, so 47 months, what's the balance of a 30-year mortgage? So we have two options when it comes to paying off the debt, right? So option number one is obviously extra payments. This is default. What is extra payments? It just means that you make the monthly mortgage payment, $1,000, and then on top of that, you make an extra payment of $2,597.43. Now, I'm going to tell you that you're not likely to do this because most people know when they overpay a loan, it's hard to get the money back. And then once they start to, let's say, tangle their finances, let's say use credit cards after overpaying the loan, that's where they get confused. Kind of like the lady that we saw on TikTok, where she was like, well, she made it seem like if you don't pay the credit card debt, or if you pay the credit card debt, you don't have money for other things, right? So this is why it's actually, I wouldn't say uh, necessarily better, but easier to pay off the debt when you use a line of credit, right? And so here's two ways that you could pay it off. Well, let me see if I get another one. Yeah. So we have extra payments, and a synonym for extra payments is what I call decision fatigue, right? So why decision fatigue? Because the mindset that you have going into doing extra payments is how much should I pay extra today or this month? And that becomes very taxing, which is why you're unlikely to keep doing it. Okay? Whereas if you use something called the chunking method where you move or transfer a piece of the loan into the line of credit, your paycheck just flows in by default and your mindset is just to make sure that your checking account goes to zero as much as possible, right? So what do you think is easier? It's like kind of like doing a diet and then having to come up with, let's say, a new recipe, let's say once a week, right? Or maybe every single day. I don't know if that's really, the frequency that you would make like healthy recipes every single day. Or someone says, hey, you know what? Just make the same meal every single day. Green juice, carrot juice, some veggies, some baked potatoes, some supplements. That's it, and do that every single day. I consider it to be this option where you just do the same thing, and you don't have to think. Because I don't think people really value, or maybe not value is the right word. They underestimate how little thinking actually gets you the best results, right? So this is why I like the HELOC chunking method, meaning you just uh, spread or not spread transfer a piece of the loan into the line of credit and then just kind of pay it off over and over again. So for example, let's say $6,000 a month. Okay, $6,000 a month, and I'm just going to go ahead and do this. So probably in like 3 months it'll get paid off, right? And this at one, two, three, bam, right? Bam, and then we just do it again, right? See that? So that's pretty much the chunking method, where you just kind of move a piece of the loan into the line of credit and you just rinse and repeat over and over again. And then now we actually have a calculator that you can use that will tell you the payoff if you just put in the inputs or details. Yeah, so here we go. So basically, you just put in the details here, what the current balance is and all the loan information, how much you want to move into the line of credit. So one thing I will show is if you move the entire thing into the line of credit, look, this kind of pretty much doubles, right? 4 to 8%, you pay double the interest. Now, if you use a 30% credit card and you do small amounts, like let's say 6,000, you pay less than the 8% in the entire loan. But then I see on the internet or I hear on the internet, you should put your entire loan into a line of credit, your entire 30-year mortgage, and it's like, I don't know. Especially when you deal with bigger and bigger amounts like 400, 600,000, you might be ending or you might end up paying way more than you have to. But you see that 5 years, yeah, 5 years here, um, yeah. So let me just do this: 47 divided by 12 plus 5, and then that's 8.92 years, and then we are debt free. Oh, I even spelled debt free wrong, right? So what do you think? Do you think the lady that we saw on TikTok, she should be aware of this, or should she be like, nah, I'm not giving him a penny at all, even though I borrowed from them? And I kind of get where she's coming from, especially if you deal with like hospital bills and then, you see a doctor and then you get like some tests and stuff and magically you owe like $50,000. Is that how doctors make so much money? Like, I feel like, you know, there's probably a reason why a lot of people support that Luigi guy after he did what he did, but I won't go into that. Okay, well, that's it for today, folks. This is Korean Atlanta Mentorship here with another video. Look at all these zeros with the debts paid off and how much cash flow do we have now? 3,600. Not bad. Not bad. Okay, have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.